It's a different approach to AI. Mohammad
so-
Yousuf is faculty here, but in the School of Journalism.
Okay, so I'm a professor of journalism. I'll try to be more neutral, no panic, no over optimism about AI. So my presentation is going to be about, I'll basically give you a framework to think about AI, maybe critically think about AI. Okay, so is there anyone in this audience who is worried that you may lose your job or business because of AI? Okay, there are some. So the good news, so that may actually happen, right? But the good news is AI can make a better job than what you currently have. Because the history says during massive big technological developments, there's economic growth, there's job growth, better paying jobs, right? Industrial revolution is one example. The transformation of agriculture industry in the 20th century is another example. Most recent examples include the jobs that created by the invention of computer, internet, and new technologies. And research already is showing that AI will create more jobs than it eliminates, right? The thing is, the new technology is not all about jobs and economy. It can change a lot of things in the society. So the bigger question is whether artificial intelligence will make the world a more peaceful place or it will make it worse. But we don't know. Nobody knows the answer. So in my opinion, if we want a definite answer, then we have to have a definition. If you ask what is artificial intelligence to different people in different fields, you'll totally get different answers. If you ask my colleagues, they will probably give you a widely different answers than what you are getting here. So I would like to see artificial intelligence as a form of media, like newspaper, like magazine, like radio, television. What do? They reproduces information collected from the society to generate stories so that we can use the stories for our own benefit. And I would argue that artificial intelligence does the same thing. So it can be called as a form of media. And if we can do that, then we will be able to some extent, assess the impact, whether it's positive or negative. So why this is important? Because the people who know me, they know that I think people are stories. Our lives are basically revolved around stories. What do we think about ourselves, about others, my colleagues, my neighbors, my country, the government? They're all about stories. That's the best way for human beings to think about things and to relate like themselves and others. So these stories define our perceptions. The media stories, they tell you what to eat, where to go, who to make friends, who to avoid. All these decisions are made based on the stories that we get from different media. And AI has the power to change how those stories are made and how those stories are told. So media have been an integral part of human culture, human history, human politics, human economics for a very, very long time. Today, they're even more integral part of our life because they're being more sophisticated and we are more dependent on it. Just look at this room, right? We're talking, we're discussing stuff, and we're still on the media in some ways, right? Go to any classroom, and I teach all the time. The first thing I say, look, you have been using these computers forever. Let's stop for a minute and let's talk, right? Because I know even if you're taking notes, you will probably not have time to go back to these notes and, probably refine my lecture. So better pay as much attention to this lecture as possible rather than taking notes. You can always ask ChatGPT to summarize my notes later, right? ChatGPT will probably do a better job than we can do, many people can do, especially in summarizing. So if we want to understand artificial intelligence as a form of media, then we have to understand what does a medium do. Okay, what are the functions of medium? I kind of touched upon them a little bit, but to be more specific, the first thing media does, the television does, the newspaper does, is give us information. So when we leave our house, we want to know how is the weather outside, what kind of clothes we're going to be wearing, right? We want to know whether we're going to have our jobs tomorrow or not, okay? Whether artificial intelligence will take our jobs or not. What happened to the submarine that disappeared under like deep ocean, right? Where do we get this information? From media. What else media does? It entertains us. We are tired, we are bored, we go to media. In communication, we call escape function. We want to escape from the hassle of this world, okay? If you want to avoid your professor in the bus, you better stare at your phone. So you pretend like you did not see your professor, right? And this is pretty common. I'm a professor, so it happens to me all the time. What else does it do? It helps you make friends, especially with social media. This function has been more prominent than ever. You can reunite with your elementary school friends. You can reunite with your high school friends. And if you are on social media, I can guarantee it probably happened to all of us, at least most of us, if not to all of us. It helps us build communities, okay? I can tell you things like this could not happen if we did not have social media, right? Media help us identify people who are similar to me, and we like to do that. We want to mix with, we want to become friends with people who think like me, who look like me, and who like me, and we also want to like them, and who share the same concerns with us. And that's the first few steps to build communities, and that is happening a lot, especially in social media. And today's media, especially social networks, they also let us express ourselves, okay? In the past, even 10, 15, 20 years ago, when I first started journalism, newspaper were still the dominant medium. Television was still the dominant medium. There were like a handful of people who would always be there. But today, if you're on Facebook, you can have a 5,000 person audience just for yourself. They'll look at what you ate, which restaurant you ate, where did you go, which place did you go to travel. You have like a 5,000 people, giant audience ready to listen to you, to read your stories. So that did not happen before. So all of these functions can be done, can be served by artificial intelligence to some extent, or in some areas, even in a better way than traditional media. Now, the other side of the media, every time human beings invented a new technology, it solved some of our problems, and at the same time, it created new problems. And that happened with every single technology. So the new technology comes, it is typically, the reason it stays, it is because it's superior to its immediate past media. That's why they make communication better. So I remember I was born in a very remote village. I did not have any electricity until I was 10 years old. And at that time, it was probably 95, 96. I heard somebody told us that you can actually talk to someone on phone and you can see the face. And we were like, that's unbelievable. It's not possible, right? Today, not today, like probably a few decades ago, the kids who were born, they were born with it. My own kids, they're on the phone, on the screen, like most of the time. I mean, we of course restrict their screen exposure, but for them, this is the reality, right? So what are some of the challenges that media pose? And I would argue artificial intelligence also either exacerbate those challenges. If we can, I don't know, I would say the functions are similar, the challenges are similar, only larger in magnitude. So what are some of the challenges? The consumer culture. An average US adult is exposed to 4,000 to 10,000 advertisements every single day. That's a lot of information to process. Okay, are you worried about misinformation? It's nothing compared to this, because human being has limited cognitive capability to process information. So each compare like 5 pieces of misinformation to 10,000 pieces of advertisements. Okay, to me, as a misinformation researcher, that is less of a concern than this. Exacerbate division. We're hearing about polarization, political polarization, right? More people are getting poorer, some people are getting richer. The problem with AI can seriously make this situation worse, especially algorithms. We know how algorithms promote this polarization. If you are subscribed to certain views, algorithm knows that you are watching those videos, you're reading those texts, it will send you the same. So you are less likely to be exposed to different views, and that makes this situation worse. Stereotypes. Stereotypes have been one of the biggest concerns of mass media for a very long time. There have been a lot of research, many books. I don't have to explain to you what that means, because media are represented by a very small group of people, typically white male, right? And they're also, the global media also dominated by media from a very small number of countries in the world, like USA, UK, France, Germany, maybe now a little bit China, and some other countries. The countries that are economically rich, they also dominate the media agenda. Promote violence. Okay, so, well, I mean, there are conflicting findings about like whether exposure to violent content makes it more violent or not. But I would be biased in terms of the group who thinks you're exposed to violence, you're likely to follow and mimic, because that's how we learn. We mimic other people, we mimic what we like. So it may not make everyone violent, but the people who are by nature violent can make them more violent. It can be through video games, through violent movies, even news stories about violent events. So a violent person may think, hey, I'm not the only one who is thinking this way. There are other people, they did it, so I can probably do that too, right? So, of course, the misinformation. Misinformation is not a new thing. It has always been with us. We love gossip. We love misinformation. We love to hear bad things about the people we don't like. And that's been part of human history for a very long time. What makes intelligence worse, artificial intelligence a problem, is they give the people who are intending to use misinformation for their own benefit, they don't care about the society, about others, artificial intelligence, new technologies empowering them to do that. And of course, privacy. there have been technologies that did not grow because they thought it invades privacy. But privacy, you can just read this tiny phrase. It says if it's on the internet, it's not private, right? So I mean, I'm not gonna talk a lot about that. So what can we do about all of this? In media scholarship, in media discipline, there have been a lot of talk about this. Not today. They've been talking about this like for a very long time. If you have heard the name of Marshall McLuhan, Neil Postman, they have been talking about this for a very long time. For them, every technology is media. Okay, so they're talking about the impact of this. Actually, Neil Postman thought we don't need media, at least today's media, computer, internet, because we don't have an information shortage problem. That problem was solved a long time ago. We don't have any entertainment problem. There's too much entertainment on the TV. You'll have like a million lifetime to watch all of them. So do we need to create more entertainment? But they're also talking about how technologies are shaping our life, our society, our politics, our economy, and everything. But we also have the power to shape technologies. So whether we'll be able to control artificial intelligence or not, it depends on us. So what are the forces that shape new technologies? Number one is the government. As some of you mentioned, government can actually make new laws to direct the right path for artificial intelligence to grow. It's everywhere. ChatGPT code is open. So if they code it now for us, that means the bad people with bad intention, they're going to have it. They will overpower us because it's open. You can't take it away. It's there. It's on everybody's computer. The second big force is the businesses. Microsoft, the owner of ChatGPT. Google, the owner of Bard, right? So these companies, these businesses, they have a lot of power. If they see economic potentials, if they see opportunities, then they will probably push for AI to expand at the expense of, the human society, like democracy. I'd not say that every corporation is the same, but we know that you can, with US government, you can only control US companies, but that's not how the technology today works. So someone from Macedonia can write clickbait stories, and that can impact the election in US, and you don't even know where the person is and whether that person is writing the stories himself or herself or using AI. So it's very difficult. But the biggest forces are us, ourselves. If we are more careful, like what kind of sources this information are coming from, then we will be relatively safer. And the biggest is community. So I do research about misinformation. And there are multiple bodies of research that shows that misinformation will affect you if you already believe in that thing. As I said before, if you don't like someone and I tell bad information, I give you bad stories about that person, you are very likely to believe my story. If you like someone and I give you wrong information, false information about that person, you're very unlikely to believe that information. So it's your network, it's your relationship with others, it's your existing knowledge that has probably more impact than the story that is being told to you, or even the person who is telling you the story. If I'm your friend and you have another friend and I'm giving you false information about your other friend, then you're probably going to be confused. You'll try to verify whether my story is right or wrong, because to you, I am a credible source. So, it's always the credibility of the source is very important. So I don't want to take more of your time. In summary, I think artificial intelligence, if you use this framework as a form of media, it will make sense. It does the same function. It also poses the same risk. If you want to think critically about it, I will This is the 7th question that Neil Postman proposed. He said, when you see a new technology, you have to ask these questions. So for artificial intelligence, the first one is what problem to which artificial intelligence claim to be a solution? If you just type on Google, like Neil Postman technology questions, you'll get them because they don't have to take notes, they don't have to take pictures. It's very easy. Neil Postman is a very famous, he's a New York Times bestseller writer. He wrote the book called Amusing Ourselves to Death. Okay, so the first question about artificial intelligence, you want to ask, what problem to which this new technology claims to be a solution? And whose problem is it? Is it my problem? Is it poor country's problem? Is it a corporate problem? Is it a government problem? Whose problem is artificial intelligence claims to be a solution? What new problems is it going to create? And we have already touched on some of those. They will exacerbate the existing problems, but they can also create new problems that we don't know yet. What kind of people and institutions are going to be affected by this? As I said before, some of us will lose jobs and will end up getting better jobs. Some of us will lose job and will end up getting a worse job, make less money. Some of us will make more money. And the 5th one is very important. What changes in language it is going to bring? We don't think about it, but think like how Twitter changed our language, right? We use hashtag and we use the different acronyms, it changed our language. And according to Neil Postman, every new technology, the major technology, they will change the language, the way we talk, the words we use, the phrases we use. Very, very important because that affects how we think and that affects how we think about others. 6, what kind of shift, economic shift, political shift this new technology will bring? Very, very important. We are already blaming social media for today's political turmoils across the world, for a declining, the strength of democracy. But is artificial intelligence going to make it worse, or is it going to make it better? The last one, what new forms of media will artificial intelligence create? So artificial intelligence is not the end of technological developments, okay? So there will be new technological developments. What is that going to be? With that, thank you so much.
Thank you. Questions? There.
Hi, so may I?
Yeah.
I think she raised her.
Norm?
Her.
Norm has a question.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
So you're comparing artificial intelligence and new technologies to classic media, let's say, or at least in the way that we should take it and handle it. So I'm thinking traditional media has already created many, many problems. I mean, it's not a non-problematic aspect of human life. So what makes you believe, or what do you think that should be the correct approach, and that we stand a chance, let's say, in face of new technologies because of this increased magnitude of this type of systems?
No, I'm not saying there is a correct approach or not, because for me to make sense of artificial intelligence, I had to develop my own framework. And since I'm a professor of media and communication, this made the most sense to me. And look, we can't escape from artificial intelligence. So we have to find ways to deal with it. So that's what we're trying to do. We're not saying this is the correct approach, this is the best solution for anything. So of course, I said that existing media created a lot of problems, and that's what happens whenever you develop new technology, right? They're like byproducts for every new innovation. And I think one of the goals of peace engineering is to focus on that. In the past, we have been very desperate, very blind about like, okay, this is a new technology, it has a lot of potentials, let's go with it. It has economic potential, it can do this and that. But we did not think a lot about the negative aspects, like what are going to be the negative byproducts that can be harmful for the society. So we have to focus on that. That's my point. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've heard your presentation and Mel's presentation, and I personally believe that we fear like limitless power. And because we have seen what unlimited human power can do, so AI is probably the only tech tool that can advance itself. And the thing is that when you and Manuel were presenting the problems with AI, I could only think that they were problems with human intelligence as well. I mean, biases, concepts as colonialisms, and we fear that because I believe AI is socializing in human intelligence archive and our own biases. So, I mean, I see that part of the argument, but I also see that humans have, like, we have ethics, right? And if AI could learn biases, why could it not learn ethical values? And my question for you is, if we should, because of our own intelligence limitations, limit the advancement of AI until we tackle human biases, or if AI can deconstruct itself when learning processes advances?
So that's a really good question. And I think this is something that is less present in non-social scientific disciplines. In social sciences, in arts, in media and communication, we are not as scared of AI as a lot of people in other disciplines are, although AI will probably take our jobs first before they take yours. The reason is we don't think AI is a tool that we developed. AI cannot see the future, but we can. AI cannot bring new ideas, but we can. It doesn't matter how intelligent AI becomes, it will still have to learn from what we provide as training data. It can probably make a good inference because it has a very strong computational power. So it can probably sort through like billions of ideas and give you like a computational output of what ideas are the best. But as a human beings, I don't think AI will be able to surpass our power to reason. So with I think what is more relevant to your question in terms of peace engineering is, look, how much time we spend learning math and statistics skills, and how much time we spend learning, even in college, even in my department. I don't see a lot of education about ethics. I don't see a lot of education about reasoning, even in research methods courses, even in qualitative research methods courses. It's still focus is on computation reliability and validity. I think what we should focus, if we're really concerned, we have to add like a tons of courses, as many artificial intelligence courses you enroll in. You have to probably enroll in equally or more courses that will talk about ethics and reason, because that's what makes us better than AI. A few days ago, I was having a discussion with my department chair and another professor, and this is the exact argument I made. Like when we write a research paper, AI can do the lit review for me. It can write the methods for me because it can tell you based on the question what kind of methods would be best appropriate for my research. It can probably write some of the conclusions for me. Then what is left for me? Why am I worried that someone else will write it? If we can use AI to do that, let it do it. We can focus on something else. What is that something else? That is reasoning. We have to develop our skills, reasoning skills, and we have to focus on ethics education. And I don't see it at the universities in the level that I expect. Manal?
So, okay, I agree and disagree with you, of course, right? So, first, bias is inductive. So, you learn bias, but from data. I mean, any moron can be biased. Ethics is learned by deduction. So if you want to create ethics, you need to be a philosopher. The deductive learning is the last frontier in machine learning. First time I use machine learning today. it's the last frontier. Machines cannot write theorems yet. And so the difference between what you said and what I believe is that machines will never be able to create knowledge. I don't think so.
You think that that's possible?
That is
You-
possible.
So-
I have my doubt.
It depends on what you call knowledge, right? So that's what I'm saying, like, if you think about like the scientific ladder, we have existing knowledge, and then we build hypotheses, we test them, and then we make new knowledge, okay? So if you tell a new story on knowledge, yes, artificial intelligence can generate that. Even a feature, even a novel, okay, based on patterns that we already provided. But the highest level of knowledge, the ethical knowledge, I'm doubtful that artificial intelligence will be able to do that. So there are different levels of knowledge. So that's what I'm saying. So
One of the roles of media is the public debate.
Right.
The public debate
Yeah.
in media and it played that important role for many, many decades. Is there ever a thought of having AI with different biases debate where humans can observe?
I wish. So there have been, that debate continued till like television and to some extent the internet. And this is one of the arguments that I make to my colleagues, because when students come to communication and journalism, they think they don't have to do that. They're like, okay, I'm here because I'm scared of math and I know how to write. Okay, this is true. You'll find it like in many places. And guess what? Some of those students become professors. So a lot of us, few semesters ago, I taught a course on computational text analysis in my department. And guess what? 60% of the students came from outside. The class was full. They came from business, they came from sociology, from other departments, but not my discipline. So for me, I think for an effective debate like that to happen, we have to educate more communication and journalism scholars about AI, the technical aspect, how algorithms work. But they have like very superficial discussion what might happen. So for example, in the past, we are talking about before radio and television came, when the presidential debate would happen, one candidate would talk for 1 hour, and another candidate would debunk for 15 minutes, and then he would continue for another hour. And this debate would go for like days. And today you ask, okay, how do you save the world? And the candidate has 30 seconds to answer. How can someone possibly answer that question in 30 seconds? And that is an impact of television because you have to fit that answer in a soundbite. So with artificial intelligence, I don't think the debate that we're having right now is that actually that deep. Yes, go ahead.
I'm the one that I believe that I'm going to lose my job because of AI. And you were mentioning that AI might work to build communities. So I wanted to ask your opinion related to DAOs with blockchain government organizations that are now really trendy. And that I believe that maybe are a challenge for the state as we know this, and the democracy. So what's your
Well, I don't know, but what I can tell you is like AI is already employed heavily in, especially in social media that is affecting like governance. Someone this morning told us about how Airbnb is more powerful in diplomacy than like any government in the world, and that is part of AI. So I think we're already seeing that, and I don't know, like the direction it's gonna go. Am I getting your question?
Yeah, my question was, does DAOs or the blockchain organizations are challenging the role of the state or democracy as we know that it is today or not?
Well, I don't know a lot of about blockchain technology. So we can say like, the Bitcoins, I've read news about like how say the criminal organizations, they're using Bitcoins to send funds, exchange. So I don't know whether that will reach a level that can threaten like global governance system. I hope not.
Thank you.